Three best friends, bound by years of close friendship. But a trip to Dubai was about to shatter everything. Not because of an accident. Not even a simple misunderstanding.
No.
Something much deeper, much darker. Their names were Lena, Aminata, and Dior. Three young African women. Ambitious, beautiful, full of dreams and illusions. They had saved for months. Worked day and night. They wanted to treat themselves, break free from routine, live the life of queens, just like they saw on social media.
Dubai.
The name alone made their eyes sparkle. But none of them were prepared for what they would discover there. And especially what one of them would agree to. At first, everything seemed perfect. The luxurious hotel. Selfies on the beach. Instagram stories. But behind the glitter, there were glances, strange offers, and silent rituals no one really understood. Then there was that night. The night Dior came back late, alone. With eyes no longer shining with joy, but filled with a strange tension. She said she had been noticed by influencers. That she was going to join their circle. That it was destiny. Then she asked Lena and Aminata, "If I have to enter their world, would you be ready to do whatever it takes?" They thought it was a joke. They laughed. But Dior was not laughing. A few days later, one of them was gone. Another, crying, was found wandering a deserted neighborhood, reciting prayers her grandmother taught her. As for Dior, she had disappeared. But it all started long before, way before Dubai. And to understand what really happened, we have to go back to the very first day they arrived. Small break in the story. From which country are you watching this video? Tell us in the comments. And if you want to motivate me to share even more captivating stories, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get back to the story. Before the lights of Dubai, there was the red soil of Africa where it all began. In a small town in West Africa, within the faded walls of a public high school, three young girls found each other. Dior, Lena, Aminata. Three names. Three personalities. But one ambition, to escape poverty and shine. Their parents weren't wealthy, but they never went hungry. They lived modestly, with dignity. No extravagance, but always enough. And above all, strong values. Daily prayers. Spiritual protection. Their bond was already strong in middle school. But it was at university that their friendship became unbreakable. They shared everything. Evening rice, heartbreaks, and especially that silent dream that united them. To succeed, no matter what. They didn't hide it. They loved parties, they loved money, and they dreamed of power. But among them, Dior was the boldest. Always perfectly made up, phone in hand, following influencers, powerful women living in golden apartments, between yachts, luxury cars, and private events. She admired them. She wanted to become one of them. After university, they each followed their own path. But they never drifted apart. Dior, the most outgoing, entered the world of modeling. Local fashion shows, photo shoots, collaborations. She was starting to build a name for herself. Lena, calmer and more grounded, dove into digital marketing. She managed pages, created content, and slowly built up her client base. Aminata, the natural entrepreneur, opened a small online store. She sold wigs, skincare products, and fashion accessories. They were making progress. Slowly but surely. And then one day, the dream they had shared for years became possible. Thanks to their efforts, sacrifices, and savings, they finally had enough to travel to Dubai. The sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the side hustles. All of that became a memory the day they bought their plane tickets. Their hearts were racing. They were about to live the dream of a lifetime. In their suitcases, elegant dresses, makeup, and high hopes. But in the shadows, without their knowledge, a very different journey was waiting for them. They thought they had reached the top, but they were only standing at the edge of the abyss. The day they arrived in Dubai, it was a total shock. Skyscrapers that seemed to touch the sky. Cars sparkling like diamonds. Perfect faces, sculpted bodies, mysterious eyes. They had seen it all on Instagram. But nothing could prepare their hearts for this reality. They had rented a small villa with a pool. in a quiet but decent neighborhood. A dream cocoon they had proudly paid for themselves. They were young, African, ambitious, and they had 5 months ahead of them to turn this dream into a new life. In their minds, everything was perfectly clear. They would create their own ready-to-wear fashion brand. Dior would handle branding and image. Lena would manage marketing. Aminata would take care of logistics and suppliers. They wanted to be their own bosses, no manager, no pressure. Queens of e-commerce, Dubai edition. But first there were the parties. Dubai's nightlife was calling them. The soft sand, colorful cocktails, private beaches, and those exclusive clubs where everyone looked untouchable. Their plan was simple. 3 months of partying, networking, scouting the scene. Then they'd launch the business. But very quickly something began to change. It happened without warning. One evening, Dior came home later than usual. She wore a luxurious dress none of them had seen before. Her hair was perfectly styled, her nails shining, and she had that look somewhere between pride and confusion. I was invited by an influencer I've followed for years. She recognized me at a bar.
She came to talk to me.
She added me on Snap. At first, Lena and Aminata were happy for her. But soon, they realized something was off. Dior was changing. She spent less time with them. She went out alone, often. She came back at dawn, and she no longer shared everything. When she did speak, her words were strange. You don't understand. They live in another world. What you see on social media is nothing compared to the real thing. They told me I have potential. Then she stopped eating with them. She stopped praying. And she avoided certain topics, especially when they brought up launching the business. She'd smile politely. She'd nod. But she was no longer present. A month had passed since they arrived. And Dior was no longer truly Dior. She had become something else. And then, one night, she came back later than ever. No heels. No purse. Just a blank stare. That night, someone had made her an offer. Quick pause in mystery. Which country are you watching from right now? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoy chilling and powerful stories like this, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me tell more secrets like this one. Now back to the darkness. That night, she had no idea she was stepping into a world you never leave unharmed. It all began at a private party, in a villa that didn't appear on any map. A private driver had been sent for Dior. Black car. Tinted windows. Not a single word during the ride. Only a soft voice whispering in her earbuds. Tonight, you're entering the world of the elite. When she arrived, everything sparkled. Stunning women. Famous. Admired. Influencers she had followed for years. They were there. Like queens. And yet, no cameras. No stories. Nothing. It was another dimension. One of them, angelic face and gentle voice, invited her into a separate room. And there, the conversation shifted. Do you really want to make it, Dior? More than your friends? More than anyone else? Do you want to shine beyond social media? Then you'll have to do something. Very simple. They weren't talking about branding. Nor sponsorships. Not even algorithms.
No.
They asked for hair. Her friend's hair. Just a few strands. That's all. They carry within them an energy, a potential they'll never know how to use. But you can use it in their place. It's not a sacrifice. It's a transmission. They're not as ambitious as you. You've seen it, haven't you? Their words were soft. Logical. Almost comforting. But in the shadows, it was a cult. A closed circle. Ancient. A cult. And Dior, blinded by the dream, asked no more questions. That night, as she returned to the villa, she looked at her two best friends with a strange mix of love and doubt. Over dinner, she asked a question. If I became someone huge, would you follow me? Or stay the same? Lena burst out laughing. Aminata too. They thought it was one of her usual jokes. But what they didn't know was that while they slept, Dior, silently, had gone into the bathroom. She had taken their combs, one by one, and collected some hair. No remorse. No tears. Just a cold, quiet determination. The next day, she left again. And then, the ritual began. A dark room. An entire week. She no longer knew what time it was. What day. Only whispers.
Prayers.
Songs in ancient languages. Strange perfumes. And flames dancing without fire. When she finally opened her eyes, she thought only a few hours had passed.
But no.
7 days.
7 nights.
And outside, the world had changed. A woman with the air of a personal assistant stood waiting, face unreadable. Dior, there's something you need to know. Lena was found dead last night, suddenly, with no apparent cause. Discovered lifeless in the bathroom. Aminata was in the hospital, fighting for her life. Dior dropped to her knees. She trembled. She screamed. But deep inside her, a voice whispered, "You knew there would be a price." She gained everything, but at what cost? In just 2 weeks, Dior had blown up. Her account jumped from 80,000 to over 600,000 followers. The most prestigious brands were reaching out. She was even invited to speak on Dubai TV sets. And as a final reward, she received a transfer of 1 million dirhams. The price of her initiation into the circle. Everything seemed perfect. But meanwhile, Aminata was fighting for her life. And Lena had already been buried. Aminata's family, back in West Africa, had sensed danger the night before her collapse. Her grandmother dreamt of a black snake crawling beneath her bed. Her uncle, a respected spiritual healer, had seen a black veil covering her photo. So when the news reached them, they acted. Not with panic, not with blame, but with powerful rituals.
Prayers.
All-night vigils, offerings, and most of all, protection. At the hospital, between gasps of breath, Aminata spoke. Not in full detail, but enough for both families, hers and Lena's, to understand. Someone took our hair. Lena's mother collapsed. Aminata's father clenched his fists. And in silence, the two families decided they would not remain silent. Meanwhile, Dior, curious, wanted to understand what she had truly done. She went back to the women she had believed were her sisters in the circle. But this time, the smiles were cold. There's always a price, Dior. In our world, a sacrifice is required. You offered 2 lives. That was the deal. Dior, panicking, asked, "Why them? Why did Lena die? Why did Aminata nearly die?" The answer chilled her to the bone. They were weak. They didn't have the structure to handle the energy. It's not your fault. It's just the rule. She tried to leave. They reminded her, there's no turning back. But what they didn't know was that the fight had already begun elsewhere. In Africa, Aminata's clan had not only protected their daughter, they had launched a spiritual counterattack, not to destroy, but to restore balance. And that the circle hadn't foreseen. In the weeks that followed, Dior began to deteriorate. First physically, constant migraines, unexplained skin rashes, rapid weight loss. Then mentally, nightmares, voices, visions in the mirror. She couldn't sleep anymore. She reached out to the circle, but this time no one answered. The connection was cut. She was no longer a rising star. She had become collateral damage. In truth, the circle had abandoned her. They had realized she had targeted protected bloodlines, ancient families, strong, linked to forces their own rituals could not control. Months later, nothing remained. Dior's Instagram deleted. Her videos gone. Her name, no trace in search engines. Some say she returned to Africa, that she lost her mind, wandering the streets, talking to herself. Others claim the circle took her back, for correction, or worse, as an offering. But one thing is certain, she disappeared. And somewhere in Africa, in the courtyard of a modest home, Aminata's grandmother lit a final candle at her altar. She blew it out gently and whispered, "When the light comes from evil, the shadows always come to collect."